There are 3 brand new releases out this week, but what to watch first? There is the new Spike Lee film getting rave reviews. There's the new Judd Apatow film getting reviews. But no, I chose to watch Artemis Fowl.
Authorities launched a worldwide manhunt for the famous collector. He is suspected to have been behind some of the biggest robberies ever.
Dad. Hello?
Your family has taken something of great value from us. Return it to me or I will destroy everything you love.
You weren't supposed to see this yet. Your father is in a complicated profession. For years, he has protected powerful secrets that have kept mankind safe from the dangers of another world.
How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Luke's Reviews, and on today's video I will be reviewing a film that was initially meant to be released way back in the summer of 2019 and then suffered a few delays, so it got pushed back to earlier this year, and then a little pandemic happened and then it ended up being pushed onto Disney Plus, and that is Artemis Fowl. Based on a series of novels, Artemis Fowl is the world's youngest criminal mastermind. After his father is kidnapped and held for ransom, Artemis must join forces with fairy officers and a giant dwarf to help find a hidden artifact. That's pretty much the Cliff Notes version here because, and I'm just going to be quite frank here, Artemis Fowl is a complete load of rubbish. It reeks of a film that may have been pretty harmless in its early development stages and might have been okay when it was actually filmed, but as soon as it entered pre-production, I'm telling you, this movie has been slaughtered in the editing bay. Now, for the most part, I'm largely unfamiliar with the source material. I think I read one book when I was slightly younger, and the only thing I really took away from it was that Artemis, this 12-year-old boy, wasn't as clear-cut a good guy as you might have thought. But going into the film, I expected very little. But here's the thing. As someone who isn't familiar with the novels, I was spitting feathers for most of this movie. And judging from the reaction of fans of the books from social media, this has angered so many of them. Fans of the series are fuming as to how this has been brought to life. Starting off with what frustrated me the most, Artemis Fowl is 90 minutes of exposition dump after exposition dump. We are constantly being told so much information, and yet it doesn't seem to add anything to story or any semblance of character. I've never seen a movie that feels like there is so much going on and yet just not enough. None of the stuff that we're being told I feel like is important, and all of these crucial things that are presumably integral to how this story is developing, we're just left out of the loop. The plot itself is an embarrassment due to the fact that it has been butchered by the editors. It's so choppy, uneven, and scenes just exist one after another but with no sense of continuation. To give an example, there's this one scene where some time dome is collapsing around them and everyone is bracing for impact, and then instantly we just cut away to a different scene but featuring the same characters as they're just embarking on the next part of their adventure. It makes no sense. What happened to these presumed couple of minutes where this event was resolved, but they don't resolve it and it just moves on as if that part never happened? What's going on? Fantasy films pride themselves on being able to introduce audiences to an expansive and fantastical world, but here we rarely get a glimpse of this world that Artemis Fowl resides in. Instead, we're just told about it through really lazy exposition dumps, like I've said, or really off-putting, almost growling narration by Josh Gad. Speaking of Josh Gad, I like him. I think he always adds a welcome presence to whatever he appears in, but for this, he is woefully miscast. He's playing some kind of giant dwarf, and there are the odd moments where Gad's charm kind of shines through, but otherwise, especially in scenes of him within a prison, which were reshot and added to the film at the very, very last minute, he's just not the right fit for this role. Oh, and also this happens.
It's feeding time.
Why did I choose to watch this first? Colin Farrell is wasted in this film. He has absolutely nothing to do. And Judi, you're better than this. Why all of a sudden are you taking roles in which you clearly aren't having a good time and they're not showing off what you can really do? Just say no, Judi. As for the kids in this film, I don't want to say anything negative about child actors, so... they weren't good. My problem with Artemis in particular is that his entire character is meant to be a criminal mastermind, and yet in this film he does nothing criminal. This has to be the Disney censors jumping in, not wanting to depict a child that goes against the law, but that's his character. Because what I remember from the books is that he has a tendency to be quite ruthless, and in this film he just types a lot. It also doesn't help that he never feels like the main character of his own film. There are so many characters in this film, so many of them that are taking screen time away from Artemis, that he ends up playing second fiddle to his own story. In fact, it was the character of Holly Shaw, a fairy officer, who feels more like the main protagonist of this story. I'm disappointed with Kenneth Branagh. He doesn't add any flair or elegance to this film whatsoever. He's a good director. I just don't know what he was doing here. As I've said before, this film has been completely trashed as soon as it entered post-production. Its story is chock-a-block full of disgusting exposition drops, lazy narration, and a profound disregard for any notion of coherent storytelling. The performances from all ages are uninspired, and worst of all, it can't even bother to try and be like the novels it's based on. Overall, I'm going to give Artemis Fowl a 2 out of 10. Anyway guys, those were my thoughts on Artemis Fowl. Oh boy. Let me know what you thought of the film down in the comments below, as well as my question to you. What is your least favourite book to film adaptation? Also, make sure you stay tuned on this channel, because over the next few days I will have a review for Da 5 Bloods, which is Spike Lee's new film, and The King of Staten Island, which is Judd Apatow's new film. Also, on Friday, don't forget, it will be the brand new episode of For the First Time in Forever. This episode, I will be talking about the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Thanks for watching. If you have enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more, please make sure that you click that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. All the links to my social media accounts, my Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and my letterbox are all in the description below. And if you haven't liked the video, what are you still doing here?